Today I'm going to show you how I use drum racks to create dozens or even hundreds of ideas rapidly in a single Ableton session. And this works even on the days that I feel completely uninspired. So I think we've all been there before. You sit down to work on something in Ableton, but you just end up staring at the screen and nothing comes out. Well, if you can relate to that, then you're definitely going to want to stick around for this. This workflow will help your sessions to flow faster, to get your ideas down more quickly, to stay organized, and to build tracks without losing momentum. I'm Suazo, a house music producer out of Playa del Carmen, and today I'm here at SoundLab Tulum to walk you through this workflow. I picked this workflow up about 14 years ago from Mike Huckabee, an influential Detroit house producer. The original version was built on Machine, and I've adapted it for Ableton, and it works particularly well on Push 3. And through the years, I've also added quite a few twists of my own. Before we jump into the workflow, the most important thing to talk about isn't a plugin or a device. It's actually how you're approaching making music in Ableton. So, as you probably know, in Ableton, we have the session view that you see here with the clips in these horizontal vertical columns. And then we have the arrangement view, which is your timeline based view. Now, I know that a lot of producers go straight to this timeline view and they don't use the session view at all. And there's nothing wrong with that. And this is primarily where we compose finished tracks. But starting every session, trying to make a track from scratch in a sort of linear way can be very difficult, especially on those days where the ideas just aren't flowing. So, what we do in this workflow is we flip that and we use the session view to rapidly generate ideas. And we don't worry about making a full song, we just make tiny loops. And I make those loops here on each scene, which is the horizontal row. And I don't even worry if they're good or not. I just make one quickly and then I make another one. And then after some time, we're going to have dozens and dozens of these, and we can pick the best ideas to then make a track from. So let's jump into it. We already said that the session view is the starting point for this template, but at its very center is a specific device in Ableton called the drum rack. So on this channel, it says BD, that's for bass drum. We've got a drum rack that is loaded up with a bunch of kick samples. Sorry, I triggered some other ones. 16 kick samples to be exact. And that's channel 1. Then over on the next channel, we've got 16 claps. And then actually I've also got snares in here too, 16 snares, some rim shots. And then we go over to the next channel, we've got hi-hats. So here's 16 different closed hi-hats. And if we move up, I've got some open hi-hats, some special hi-hats, and some cymbals. So moving on to the next group, we've got shakers. Just a few different types, some tambourines as well. So I'll pause here before I continue because one thing I want to call out is that, the drum rack is a very, very powerful device. And it can be used for a lot more than just drums. And one of the things you'll notice here is that, we see 16 pads at a time, but there's actually a lot more than that. You can load up to 128 sounds on a drum rack. And these sounds can be anything from one shots to full loops to entire synthesizers or even other drum racks, kind of inception drum rack within drum rack thing. So you can really do a lot with drum racks. So moving on to the template, next we've got some congas. I just, grabbed a bunch of congas and threw those onto there. And then the next one, we've got some stabs, some melodic content. So this is, a good example that drum racks are for more than just drums. So Here we've got a bunch of kind of like melodic stabs. And then a really cool thing is that if you're using the push 3, not only can, if I play this, it's just one note, but I could actually go into the layout mode. I can go to 16 pitches, which is a new thing with the 12.2 update. I could take this pad and I can now pitch it and play it melodically. So that's a really useful feature. So moving on, next I've got granulator for some type of ambient stuff. Just some kind of like weird noises in the background. And for this, like I literally just went into the presets here. So I just, went to instruments, looked up granulator 3, and just pulled in the presets from granulator. So, a bunch of these, I just pulled them straight onto the pads of the drum rack. And that's how we got what you see here. And then moving on to next, we've got top loops. I've only got 4 in here at the moment, but this is another example that you can actually use full loops in a drum rack. So in this case, I've got 5 different top loops. This first one here, let's take a listen. So the key to making loops work in a drum rack like this is a couple of things. First off, we need to enable warp so that it goes with the BPM. And then secondly, when you're sequencing this, you have to make sure that the length of your MIDI clip, that you're re-triggering the loop before it ends. All right, and then finally, the last channel in this project is the bass. So in this case, oh, that's a little bit high. It's just a kind of like 808 type bass. So that's basically how we set up the template. We've got a bunch of different drum racks. Everything's a drum rack in this template except the bass, which is just a operator, I believe, in this case. So, let's get into it. Like, how do you actually use this thing? Let's take a look at the kick drums as an example, this column that says BD. Each of these is a clip. So in this first clip, if we take a look, you can see that I've just got a 4 on the floor kick drum on BD1. So let's listen to that in solo. Sorry, wrong one. There we go. So just simple 4 on the floor kick. Then in this other one, next one, also 4 on the floor kick, but it's just a different instrument, a different sound. So that's kind of like, how this works. And then if we go over, I'm using the push here, but you can see that here are some ideas that I've laid out using this template. So going back to the session view, as I explained, we've got basically related sounds in each of the channels. And then each of these rows is basically like a loop that I made. So these quick ideas. So let's listen to some of them really quickly. So yeah, that's basically in a nutshell how this is working, right? Each of these rows is a quick idea that I made. It could be a seed for a future song, but a really cool thing about it is just because I made a loop in a certain way doesn't mean that I need to play it that way. One of the benefits of being in the session view is that we can actually mix and match some of these. So, for example, let's start with the first loop, but then we'll swap out the kick and bass. So here's the first loop. Say I don't really like this kick, but I'd rather have this one. Now we got a new kick. Let's change the bass too. Maybe I want to do a different top loop. Different congas too. Why not switch out the hi-hats as well? And then why not the claps too? And then let's put in a new kick. So as you can see, this is a way to basically get all many ideas very quickly. And then if we like one of those, we can easily record it into the timeline view. So let's do that really quickly. Let's say I really like that combination that I just did. All right, so I'll record that into the arrangement view. And then just like that, we can turn this off. And then now, let's trim this a little bit. Now we've got that idea in the arrangement view, and that can be a starting point from a song. So, you know, we can arrange it in this kind of like, you know, linear fashion, how you would. Let's say we want the clap and the bass to come in after 8 bars, and then maybe congas will come in halfway through the second phrase, and we could let the granulator and the stabs go the whole time. And we'll let the shakers go the whole time, and the hi-hats come in halfway through the... Looks like we actually didn't get a clap. Okay. Let's listen to that. Actually, I don't really like that kick. Let's do like a more 4 on the floor kick. All right, so let's listen to that now. All right, cool. So not the most exciting arrangement, but it gives you an idea of, you know, the ways that you can use this workflow to seed new songs and to get dozens of ideas very quickly. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about how you would actually make these, right? Because basically each of these little loops needs to be created. Actually, the way that Mike Huckabee would do this was that he would give himself 1 minute to create each idea, and then he would move on to the next, you know, regardless of if he liked it or not. And I think that's, you know, a pretty cool way to do it. Now, 1 minute is a little bit quick for those of us who aren't finger drummers, but I do have some tricks that could help you out with that. So Number one, using a push helps a ton. I prefer to use a push when I can. So if we're using the push, I highly recommend using the step sequencer. Okay, so let's clear out everything on the timeline and let's do a loop from scratch. Let's go here, we'll make a new clip, and then okay, we choose this kick drum. Now let's play that. Okay, so here we got a kick drum. Let's move on to the clap. So I'm gonna make a new clip here. These are snares. Let's do some rim shots. No, let's do this. All right, now let's add a clap. Okay, let's move on to the hi-hats. Find some close hi-hats. Just play. And then we'll make it shorter. Okay, there we go. We got some hi-hats. Now, one of the cool things that I like to do here is using generative sequencers to help us out. So let's go to the congas and we're going to listen to that loop, and I've loaded up a few samples here, just random conga samples. I pulled them onto the drum rack, and then what I'm actually doing here is I'm using a generative sequencer called Sting. This is made by a guy named Ifta, who is an amazing developer, gives all of these away for free on his website. So you can grab it there for free. But what this does is it generates MIDI for me. So let's listen to this on the beat. Okay, so you can hear that it's playing something. If I put that in solo, there we go, that's the congas, right? So I could actually play with some of these parameters here. Density to make it more or less busy. The more dense it is, the more busy it is. And then I could click this guy to regenerate. I kind of like that. Let's listen to how it sounds with everything. Okay, that's pretty cool. So what I would do now is I can click this button that says clip, and then it created this clip in the session view. So now that I have that clip, I could turn it off here, and then let's launch that whole row with the congas. All right, cool. So let's continue adding to this loop. Okay, so let's add some stabs to this. I'm going to use the 16 pitches mode on the push. I like this noise. So let's listen to it in context and try to come up with a pattern. Quantize it. Okay, cool. Now we can do the same type of thing with a generative sequencer on the granulator. So here I've got a bunch of kind of like weird noises. Let's just use Sting, see what happens. Density is too high. that's cool. Let's add that. Now that's a clip. We turn Sting off. Play it. All right. Cool. Now let's add a top loop. So I'll just draw that in. All right, cool. And just like that, we've got, you know, a new idea, and we could, you know, take things in and out. So if you like this workflow, I built this exact template as a free Ableton project, and it's our gift to you. It's loaded with racks and preloaded with some samples, so you can get jamming right away without having to worry about configuring things. Now, of course, I do recommend that if you're going to use it, you swap out the samples with your own that fit your sound so that you can really make it your own. And honestly, this technique is just one of the many workflows that we focus on at Sound Labs Loom. The whole idea here is helping producers to move from ideas to finished tracks, helping producers to get unstuck and to take their productions to the next level. So if that sounds like something that you've been looking for, check out the links in the bio, the links below, and see what SoundLab is all about.